Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2024 Procore Championship DFS Tactics Show. Per usual, on a Wednesday night, we have a lot to cover. We're going to look at the updated forecast. We're going to look at the projected ownerships. And, of course, we're going to have all of the lineup constructions and players that you need for this week at the Procore to win in whatever DFS contests that you play in. So we got a lot to get into. Let's get right into it, shall we? All statistics provided tonight and every night are from fantasynational.com. It is the best golf analytic tool out there for your money. It's going to make you a much smarter golf gambler and a much better golf DFS player. Go check out fantasynational.com. You will not regret it. In the description to the video, there are links to all of the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where normally I place research every Monday regarding the tournament of the week, the prior winners of that tournament, some patterns that they all share, and then players in the field that week who share or who also have that pattern. Did not do anything for the Procore this week, as I explained on Monday. There wasn't a whole lot holding these previous champions together, but if you want to see the weekly research that I usually do on the PGA Tour, then give me a follow at your preferred social media site. X is also where I place my weekly betting cards and my top player usage in the DFS contest I play. That comes out every Wednesday evening after the DFS Tactics show, so that'll be out later this evening. If you want to see those, go give me a follow over at X. And then lastly, for social media, Gabe's handle's in the description. He writes a great article called The Fringe. It really is a wonderful way to start your week of preparation. And if you are a subscriber to his article, which is free to do, you're going to be able to join us in his Substack chat every Wednesday evening as we continue the DFS talk over there. We talk about game theory, our favorite areas and players at various points on the price board, players we're fading, all of that. And the only way you're going to be able to join us, again, is if you are a subscriber to his article. So make sure you are doing that, and then go show him some support, following over on social media as well. Lastly, we are live. Chat is open. I want to hear from you all in addition to the poll question, which I'll post momentarily. Who is your winner this week? Who are you targeting? Who are you staying away from? What are you going to be doing with the President's Cup players? Are you playing them without any fear? Are you avoiding them? All of that. Would love to hear from you all. So please jump in chat. Would love the interaction and to hear from you all this evening. So let's figure out our strategies and our tactics for the 2024 Procore Championship. And we're going to start with the extended forecast the super forecast over at Windfinder. And while you get your initial look, at least at tonight, we'll take a look at the forecast for Thursday and Friday. And then we'll take a look at the poll question, which I'll post. How much attention do you normally pay to the fall portion of the PGA Tour schedule? So would love to hear from you all in that regard. How much attention do you normally pay? It is, NFL season, which dominates a lot of the DFS community. Baseball wrapping up its season and getting ready into the postseason. So how much do you normally pay attention to the fall portion of the PGA Tour? All right, for a look at the forecast, pretty even. Looks like the wind will pick up a little bit in the afternoon, both days. The slightest of slight worst wind is tomorrow afternoon. There's no favor here. Just play your guys. It's going to warm up a little bit more on Thursday. It's a little bit cooler, supposedly. Friday morning, maybe you want to factor that in, but I'm not paying much attention to it. Just play your guys. It's a pretty even draw, at least from what I can see here with the forecast for Napa. If we zoom out, take a look at the weekend, much the same, might pick up a little bit in the afternoon. Now, Sunday does look like the championship groups, or the groups that are vying for the championship, could have the worst wind in or of the week. So maybe we get a player that is starting from off the pace on Sunday, but still not a whole lot here. It's just going to be an even week, I think. Whoever's playing the best and putting the best, as we'll get into, is going to win this week. So no wave advantage that I see based on this latest forecast. So with that, we'll move to Fantasy National. And let's do a couple of quick reviews here. The first thing with Silverado, it is a very short course. It's less than 7,150 yards. Don't mind me as I feel like I need to clean off these glasses. So your top performers on short courses the past couple of years. Wyndham Clark, I believe, is number one. Come on, sort. There we go. Wyndham Clark is your top player on short courses the past couple of years. Bo Hostler, Taylor Montgomery, Keith Mitchell, Eric Cole, Minwoo Lee, J.J. Spawn, Corey Connors, Tyler Duncan, and Mark Hubbard round out your top 10 in terms of performance on short courses. Now, I didn't do anything in terms of strokes gained total on short courses, but I did use the short course filter on a couple of metrics in the mixed condition model. And with the calm winds seemingly in play this week in Napa, we're also going to take a look at the easy relative to par filter. So your top performers in the past 2 years in rounds that are easy to par. Your top performers have been Chan Kim, Wyndham Clark, Luke Clanton, Sahith Theegala, Hayden Springer, Chesson Hadley, Minwoo Lee, Patrick Rogers, Bo Hostler, and Michael Kim. Now, normally this is where we would jump into the mixed condition model, but I'm going to bring us to the proximity page view and give us a quick reminder at who some of the top proximity players are from 75 to 125. The reason I'm doing this is that, as you might expect, I did not put this in the mixed condition model, so this is going to be useful information for you if you want to value this or might want to use it as a tiebreaker or whatnot. And the reason why those two ranges are the most important is that when we looked at this Sunday night in the initial research, at least compared to the PGA Tour average, a disproportionate amount of approach shots come from 75 to 100, about 4.5% more against the full field tour average event, and about 7% more from 100 to 125. You could argue the 125 to 150 as well, but at least against the average PGA Tour event, we're looking at 75 to 100, 100 to 125. So I'll sort on procs, but we're really looking at these two furthest right ranges here. So somebody like Joel Damon. Actually, let me bring this to just 2024. And 36 rounds should be fine, I would think. So, Joel Damon, 35th and 1st. He's very good with the shortest proximity there, 75 to 100. Somebody like Ryan Moore, Tom Hoagie, 5th and 14th, also 1st in the 125 to 150. So somebody you would probably want to consider if you are trying to use tiebreakers. Doug Gim, maybe. We have, Kevin Streelman, 8th and 9th. Not so much from the 125 to 150, but this gives you just an idea on some of the players that are really, really good at the shortest proximities, 75 to 100, 100 to 125. Somebody like Wyndham Clark. We mentioned Cody Gribble, 17th and 7th. Hoagie, Brendan Todd, K.H. Lee, Ryan Moore, Austin Cook down here, 27th and 25th. And if we sort of the 100 to 125, Taylor Montgomery, Roger Sloan, interesting. Working our way down here. Maybe Nick Taylor, Brendan Todd again, K.H. Lee, Jacob Bridgman, top 40 in both. So that just gives you an idea on who some of these players are that are really, really good with their wedge proximities, considering those are the majority of the links of approach shots here at Silverado. And like I mentioned, I did not put this in the mixed condition model, so I wanted to make sure I refreshed our memory moving forward this evening. Hey, Brobarian, thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. It was good to see you this evening. We have, I don't know if that is you with your answer, but very comical. But yes, the PGA Tour does indeed play in the fall, and that's why we're here trying to get a leg up for 2025, perhaps finish 2024 off with a strong finish, maybe put us into some profitability, things of that nature. But again, thanks for jumping in chat. Good to see you this evening. I know football dominates this time of year, but you know there's still golf to be gambled on and wagered in DFS. So we still have plenty to talk about during the fall portion of the schedule on the calendar. All right, with that, after talking in the proximity and doing a little bit of review from easy courses and short courses, now we'll jump into the mixed condition model. Yeah, so does winning money. Yep, that's the goal. We're gonna try and start off on a good foot, considering my FedEx Cup playoffs was just horrendous. It really, really, really was bad. I had put in a lot of good work from about the Scottish Open on, and then pretty much gave it all back during the FedEx Cup playoffs. So we're gonna see if these full field events are gonna be more up my alley, which they should be. All right, starting the mixed condition model off this evening, we have 10% in approach, and to be honest with you, I normally don't like having this little percentage in terms of approach, but Silverado's a short game course. It's all about the putting. It's about the around the green. Driving really doesn't matter at all. Not really a whole lot of ball striking. So data just shows that it really doesn't warrant a whole lot of approach play here. Opportunities maybe, in which we'll talk about, but in terms of just strokes gained approach in general, doesn't really factor as much as other courses on the PGA Tour. So only 10% in approach, 15% in around the green. This is one of, if not the course that enhances or exaggerates around the green play the most for whatever reason, because these greens aren't necessarily difficult to hit. They're just small. So for whatever reason, in the past 4 to 5 years, around the green has generally been an extremely important factor around Silverado. So 15% in around the green play, 10% putting, and of course we're using that Bent and Poa annua filter. Detroit Golf Club, Silverado, TPC River Highlands, Oakdale, Castle Pines. These courses that have been on the PGA Tour either consistently or in the past 2 years, in the case of Oakdale and the RBC Canadian last year, within the past 2 years. So these Bent and Poa annua surfaces, who has been putting the best on those surfaces? 10% in putting. I spent most of the week thinking I was going to put 15 or even 20%, but I backed it off to include another statistic in the model that kind of includes putting a little bit. And we'll talk about that here momentarily. So only 10% in the putting. 5% good drives. on short courses. Again, with this being a short course, fairways aren't really all that important so long as the players are able to play from the rough and still hit these greens. But again, as I've mentioned several times this week, and I'll continue to do so tonight, this really is a short game course, so I don't really have a whole lot in the ball striking. So 5% in good drives gained when on short courses. Some of this extra, the hidden putting, if you will, went into scrambling. And I used scrambling on bent and Poa annua surfaces. So you might disagree with the filter, but I do think scrambling will be slightly important, considering if a player is extremely wayward, they will be scrambling, since this is technically tree lined, although the trees are pretty far pushed away from the fairways. But if a player misses the green in regulation, they are technically scrambling from there. So whether that is in bunkers or whatnot. So I wanted to see not just around the green, but a little bit of scrambling as well. 5% scrambling using the bent and Poa annua filter to incorporate as much kind of hidden putting, if you will, into it. 15% in opportunities gained. Instead of using the easy to par filter, I decided to go with the short course filter on this. Again, kind of hedging towards that 75 to 125 proximity that normally, or that this would kind of simulate, if that makes sense. But I'm looking at opportunities, not birdies or better, because players are going to just have to go low. So instead of looking at birdies, I wanted to see who gives themselves the most opportunities. So 15% opportunities gained on short courses. We'll finish the mixed condition model out with the various lengths of holes that matter here at Silverado. Me personally, I think I have a little bit too much emphasis in the par threes, but I did not feel comfortable leaving out the 200 to 225 par threes. If I were to look at par threes, the most important range is the 175 to 200, but I didn't feel comfortable looking at total par threes, because that would incorporate some 150 to 175. It would incorporate 225 plus, which Silverado does not have any 225 plus par threes. All the par threes fall into this range. I just think I have a little bit too much emphasis in it. So just being upfront with you on that. But 5% in each of the ranges of par threes. 5% in the short par fours, 350 to 4. 10% in the par fours, 400 to 450. And we saw this on Monday night especially. Just the extreme emphasis that Silverado puts in the par fives here. 3 of the 4 par fives fall from 550 to 600. That's why it has 15%. There's a look at the mixed condition model, and hopefully some ways that I think I might be weak if the tournament plays a little bit differently than how I see it playing, 12 hours before the tournament starts, I suppose. But there's a look at the mixed condition model. We'll move to Microsoft Excel, the reveal of the rankings. And as a reminder, for those of you who are returning viewers, for your information, if you're a new viewer, my rankings go on 3 criteria. The FNGC rank, which is a straight numerical ranking based on the mixed condition model we just went over, metrics, percentages, and all that. Fantasy National will spit out just a ranking for that. Course value is an attempt at giving a player a numerical value at how well they have played that course in the past 5 years. The smaller the number, the better. So somebody like Mark Hubbard, Sahith Theegala, our defending champion, going to have some very good course values because they've played well here. And of course, we are playing DFS fantasy or projected ownerships per Fantasy National. Also have a piece in my rankings. We're playing DFS. We're trying to find unique options. Hence why somebody like Ches Reavie is rising. so high. Hey, good evening, Phil. Thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Hopefully you are ready to start the FedEx fall. It's good to see you this evening. So my rankings go as such for the 2024 Procore this week. Adams Vincent is my number one player. You see, he's played pretty darn well here around Silverado. He's not exactly the most common. He's not incredibly unique, but compared to players like Corey Connors and Tagala and Eric Cole, especially Eric Cole, who's sitting roughly in the same area of the price board, Vincent's getting a little bit of a boost considering he is 5% projected lower ownership. That's why he's getting a boost. Adams Vincent is my number one player. Corey Connors rated out second. I'm going to tell you now, I'm not all that high on Corey Connors. The numbers really like him, but I've got some concerns as I'll talk about. Ches Reavie, 6,600 Ches Reavie, third in my rankings. Sahith Theegala and Eric Cole round out my top 5. JJ Spawn, Keith Mitchell, Justin Lauer, Wyndham Clark, and Mark Hubbard round out my top 10. Ches Reavie, a little bit of a surprise, probably. I figured he would rate out high, but third seems a little extreme, especially considering his around the green struggles. Again, this is why I emphasize that he's getting a decent boost here from this low ownership. But you see, even Fantasy National still had him in 11th. He gives himself plenty of opportunities. His irons have been good. He really, really likes these short par 4s. Second in good drives gained. He generally finds a bunch of fairways, so he's not going to have to worry about playing from the rough. Really, it's about the around the green for him. Scrambling's been a little rough. The around the green's been rough. You don't like that. But, at how unique he is and how well he's played here, I don't have a problem with him being in the top 10. I will say third's a little bit too high, I would think. Why am I so low on Corey Connors? Even though the around the green is a little bit better, and that's where he generally struggles, look at this surface. He's not a great putter in general, but this is one of his worst surfaces. If we go to Fantasy National just very, very quickly and highlight Corey Connors. Again, remember, these are Bent and Poa annua. Corey Connors is really bad on Poa. Really, really bad. So I've got a lot of concerns with Corey Connors, especially due to the fact that this can turn into a putting contest a lot of times. You see the scrambling. He's just generally not a good around the green player anyway, especially on Poa annua. And he's not really played well here. He missed the cut 2 years ago. He did finish. He does have one top 15, but he's got 2 missed cuts, a 30th, and I believe a 13th. It's not fantastic. His record here isn't fantastic. So that's why I'm quite a bit lower on Corey Connors than what would be insinuated from these rankings. Otherwise, no surprise here. I mean, Sahith Theegala, defending champion, so his course value is going to be very, very good. Despite the fact that he ended the year off very poorly, still pretty darn strong in terms of statistical metrics. Number one in the length of the par 5s, which you have to take advantage of here at Silverado. Also very good on Bent and Poa annua. Eric Cole, despite the fact that he's not played well here, number one purely by the numbers. It's also pretty popular. Keith Mitchell, even though he didn't make the FedEx Cup playoffs, ball striking galore. So no real surprises other than maybe these two, and wanted to give the explanation why I'm not so high on Connors, and why, while I understand Reavie is third, he's probably just cracking the top 10 for me. All right, enough of the rambling. Let's go through the price board here, figure out at least where the members of Fantasy National seem to be gravitating toward, and then some possible pivots in those areas of the price board. So in the 10Ks, in the 5 digits this week, we have 3 players. Sahith Theegala at 10.6, Wyndham Clark at 10.4, Max Homa at 10,000. Now, based purely on the numbers, you would say that one of these is a pretty big fade. Normally, I would agree with you, especially considering how poorly Max Homa has been for the last really 3 to 4 months. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to play some Max Homa. I'm going to play some. You cannot ignore his performance, not only at Silverado, but in California in general. He just really, really enjoys playing on the West Coast, from the West Coast. He's also pretty darn unique compared to the other two. So you're gaining quite a bit of ownership leverage, if you will, a little bit of win equity with Max Homa, considering how unique he is compared to the other two. You know, if he were sitting at 15 to 16%, I wouldn't feel nearly as strong about wanting to use Homa. But the fact that he is by far and away pretty clearly the most unique option in the 10Ks adds to his appeal quite a bit, in addition to his form at Silverado. Nothing wrong with Sahith Theegala. He should be fine. Wyndham Clark, I think I would probably be the most confident in of the 10Ks, despite the fact that he has played the worst at Silverado among the three. But the form that he was in to close the year, very, very, very strong. Clearly the best form of these three, arguably the best form of anybody in the tournament this week. I really like Wyndham Clark. He's going to get a lot of ownership. This is Chalk Elite. It's fine. I have enough unique options, further down in the price board. I can play my fair share of Wyndham Clark. And again, I will use some Max Homa. I am not fading Max Homa. I'm going to say, fade him at your own risk, because he loves California, loves Silverado. He's a 2-time champion here. I'm going to use all three of these players. I'm going to be most using Wyndham Clark. But I'll have a fair share of Sahith Theegala, and I'll have a fair share of Max Homa as well. But I will make Wyndham Clark my top option in the 5 digits. Moving into the 9Ks. Corey Connors, Luke Clanton, Matt McNeely, Minwoo Lee, Keith Mitchell, Brendan Todd, JJ Spawn. Homa, you can see doing well. Yeah, he's done very, very well here at Silverado in general. Now, the scary thing with Max Homa is his recent form. I mean, he has been really bad. Really, really bad. I think it was the BMW, or maybe it was the St. Jude. I myself made the comment that he's just broken. He had that one very good round at the BMW. Otherwise, the BMW tournament stats don't look great. There is something to be said about comfort, and it is very, very clear Max Homa is comfortable around Silverado. So if he does not do well this week, beyond the President's Cup implications, if he doesn't do well this week, I think we can realistically write off Max Homa until he shows us something. But I don't think we can ignore his previous form here at Silverado. Yeah, moving to the 9s, I've talked at length a little bit about Corey Connors. FedEx St. Jude Championship, Homa was like 11. Yeah, it was really bad. He was really bad there. I've talked at length about how I'm not nearly as high as Corey Connors. This is a fade for me. Despite him being second in my rankings, it's a fade. I'm going to tell you right now, I have one lineup. I play multiple lineups, but I have one lineup with Corey Connors as I cover myself, basically. Otherwise, I just don't see him playing particularly well. And even if he does top 25 or whatever, he's not going to amount to much unless he really top 5s because of his price and because of his ownership. So I'm willing to take that chance and move on to some other guys, especially ones that are more unique, considering I can see Connor struggling like he has here in the past. Clanton, pure wild card in my opinion. He is the most projected owned per Fantasy National, which is not a good thing in my eyes. He has struggled around the green, and he's rating out fairly low or at least lower than the others in his area of the price board, due to the fact that he has kind of struggled around the green. And Silverado really, really emphasizes around the green play. So I've got some concerns with Clanton as well. If you like him, I understand why. I'm not going to try to talk you out of him. I'm not going to play him because of the around the green issues he has shown, or his lack of prowess with the around the green, and the fact that he's just simply the most projected on player. I can accept fading him. So if Luke Clanton plays well, I'll lose. This is a full fade on my end. One player in the 9Ks that I really like that's getting a lot of steam is Mav McNeely. Love Mav McNeely this week. I mean, another California guy. We talked about Max Homa. If we like Max Homa for the reasons of being a California native and all that stuff, got to talk about Mav McNeely. Loves putting on Benton Poa Ana in general. I wouldn't worry too much around with the good drives gained. He started really getting into form at the very end of the regular season. Obviously, he didn't make the FedEx Cup playoffs, but the 3M was fairly solid. Wyndham, he was starting to round into form a little bit. You see his prowess on these par 3s, these shorter par 4s. He's really good. I like Mav McNeely a whole lot. You see his around the green, 7th in this field in the last 36 rounds. Really like Mav McNeely this week. This is more chalk I will eat. I actually don't like Minwoo Lee that much. Despite Keith Mitchell rating 7th, this is another full fade. I just don't see this as a good course fit for Keith Mitchell. It has nothing to do with anything statistics wise, except for maybe the putter. I mean, the putter has been really, really bad. And he is a premier ball striker, 4th in irons, 5th in these long par 5s. So if you like Keith Mitchell, it's fine. I just don't see this as a good course fit. I generally try to target Keith Mitchell when it's difficult. That's when iron play really gets enhanced. This isn't difficult by any means, and this does not enhance iron play. I just don't see this as a good course fit. He also has never played here, so we don't know if he's going to take to it. Talk about course fit. This should fit Brendan Todd pretty well. He is getting a little bit of steam, though, so I might pump the brakes a little bit on that. Very good around the green. Very good short game. He gives himself plenty of opportunities. But for as good of a putter as he is, he's actually fairly middling on this surface. So I'd be a little bit wary of Brendan Todd. And J.J. Spawn I really like as well. Number 1 in good drives gained. Number 1 in irons for what it's worth this week. His putting on Benton Poa Ana isn't the best, but he's actually played fairly well around Silverado. So despite his high ownership, I'll have plenty of J.J. Spawn. So in the 9Ks, like I mentioned, I do have exactly one lineup of Corey Connors. I'll have a lot of McNeely. I have a lot of Spawn. I'll dabble some Brendan Todd, but his ownership I don't like too much. And I'm out on Minwoo Lee, Mitchell, and Luke Clanton. Moving into the 8s. This is where we're going to start getting some of our uniqueness, but considering, Wyndham Clark was my favorite play in the 10Ks. He's the most popular player there. McNeely and Spawn are 2nd and 3rd, or maybe 2nd and 4th, depending on what you think of Corey Connors' ownership. So we're going to find we need further, and I think we're going to start getting that in the 8Ks. In the 8Ks, in the upper 8s, again, I really like Eric Cole. I know he's extremely popular, but for good reason. He's one of the few players, he might be the only player, that doesn't have a pink or red statistic, meaning, bad, across all the ones we gathered. His worst is these short par 4s. Hey, good evening, P. Thanks for jumping in chat. Much appreciated. Hopefully you've had a good couple of weeks. Things are going well in your neck of the woods, and you're ready for the FedEx Fall. So it's good to see you this evening. Thanks for jumping in chat. But yeah, Eric Cole, one of the very few, or maybe the only player that doesn't have any horrible statistics of the ones we gathered. He hasn't played well here in multiple tries, but I think he's a much better player, especially when he first came on tour, graduating from the Korn Ferry. Very good around the green. very, very good on these par fives, which you have to take advantage of. I don't have any. I'm not shy about Eric Cole. Tom Hoagie rated out well, but again, around the green, really, really bad. Putting, really, really bad. A lot like Corey Connors. So I'm not there with Tom Hoagie. If Hoagie plays well, I'll lose. I could see this being not the best fit for him. Elsewhere in the 8Ks, number one player, Adam Svensson, all in on Svensson. If Svensson does not play well, I will lose. I'm going to be hammering Adam Svensson in almost every lineup that I can fit him into, based on the types of lineups that I'm trying to build. Second and around the green. Good putter on this surface. Sixth in the 400 to 450 par fours, which are so prevalent around Silverado. Scrambling, okay, a little bit lower, but I really like Adam Svensson. He's played well here. Give me all the Adam Svensson I can handle. If he doesn't play well, I will lose. Don't ignore Chan Kim, especially since Silverado tends to be on the easier side of the spectrum. It's definitely not difficult. What does Chan Kim do? He plays easy courses very, very well. He's the number one strokes gained total player on easy courses in this field. Really like Chan Kim in that regard. But he is getting a lot of ownership as well. So you could be mindful of that. Mac Meisner rated out pretty well. Not in love with it, but it's okay. It's fine. A lot of people want to talk about Mackenzie Hughes. Despite him being very, very good with the wedges around the green, one of the top putters on the PGA Tour. The irons have been really bad. He has not given himself a whole lot of opportunities. You have to give yourself opportunities around Silverado to take advantage of good putting. So I am out on Mackenzie Hughes. I know a lot of Fantasy National members seem to be out on him, but he was getting some steam from others, around the DFS gambling sphere. So just not there with Mackenzie Hughes. That's how I see the 8Ks. Going to use a lot of Eric Cole, but I am all in on Adam Svensson. I'll use some Chan Kim and some Mac Meisner as well. But really, I'm all in. Chips are in the middle of the table. Moving to the upper sevens. Matt Kuchar. I like Matt Kuchar quite a bit. He's getting some steam. But you want to talk about course fit. He's played very well here. Very good around the green. Very good with the irons. Surprised he hasn't given himself a whole lot of opportunities. But hasn't prevented him from playing well here in the past. In the past 5 years, he is 3 for 3 with an average finish of 18th. It's pretty solid. Pretty solid. Very good putter on the surface as well. Top 20 there. Top 20 on the 400 450 par 4s. I really like Matt Kuchar. Concerns with Johnny Vegas, considering Johnny Vegas is a great driver of the golf ball. This doesn't emphasize driving. So while Fantasy National rated him 12th still, I've got concerns. So I'm off of Vegas. I'm actually off of these two. Really in the upper sevens, it's really Matt Kuchar or really nobody, despite some decent to middling rankings on these guys. The one player I want to highlight that didn't rate out well is Nick Taylor. Ignore Nick Taylor at your own risk, kind of like Max Homa. He's played very well here. Very, very well. He is really unique. Around the green play, really, really good. Irons have been fine. He's a much better putter than what this is showing. Ben Poa Anna is probably not his preferred surface, but he won Oakdale, which was Ben Poa Anna. Now, there was a lot of other circumstances of that being, the RBC Canadian Open, all that stuff, but I'm going to dabble with some Nick Taylor this week, especially considering how unique he is. And I am stunned that Mark Hubbard is this low. He is 4 for 5 in his past 5 years at Silverado. You see averaging basically a 30th place finish, which doesn't sound great, but I mean, again, that's an average. He has a couple of top 15s. Destroys these links to par 5s. Top 10 putter on this surface. I really like Mark Hubbard. There's some uniqueness that I'll be gaining using quite a bit of Mark Hubbard. Justin Lauer, somebody else to maybe think about. Third on Bent and Poa annua. Second in the length of the par 4s that are most prevalent here. Top 15 in scrambling on Bent and Poa annua. Really like Justin Lauer as well. You can take a look at Jacob Bridgman. He's getting a little bit more steam than I'm comfortable with, but I can understand why. Around the green, solid. Top 25 in irons as well. He's only played it once. I wouldn't get too carried away with this course value, even though it seemingly is bad. Good putter on the surface, scrambling. Likes these par 3s, or at least the 175 to 200 par 3s. Very good. Third at the shortest par 4s. So take a look at Jacob Bridgman. He's not all that unique, but I kind of like him. Moving on down a little bit further into the low sevens. Ben Silverman. Kind of like Ben Silverman a little bit this week. Around the green is a little bit worrisome, but takes advantage of par 5s. Pretty good iron player. It's off your screen, but he's 10th in the par 4s, 400, 450 yards. I like Ben Silverman. And then two players at 7,000. Nate Lashley. 2.5% Nate Lashley. Not bad. He's okay. I'm not in love with it, but I figured I'd mention it. But at 7,000, I just love Zach Blair. So my two key plays this week are Adams Vincent and Zach Blair. If either one of those two players don't play well, I will lose. Because those guys are going to be in probably 80% of my lineups. I love everything about Zach Blair this week. West Coast native. I know he's from Utah. This is in California, so it's not exact, but good putter, good short game, keeps the ball in play. He will have to be better on these par 5s, no doubt about it. But, again, just keeps the ball in play. Third in good drives gained. Decent on the, not his preferred surface, but decent enough on the surface. Good at these short par 4s. I like Zach Blair a lot. I think you really need to consider him at the bottom of your teams. So I think he's going to have a pretty big week. 3 6K players that I want to highlight for you all. I know you all can garner or gather who the main one is, considering he was third in my rankings. But I do want to mention a couple others. The first name that I will mention to you all is Robbie Shelton. Robbie Shelton, good around the green, but mainly you're playing him for that putter, and especially on this surface. Excellent putter on Bent and Poa annua. Decent with these shorter par 4s as well. 58th doesn't sound great, but I mean it's top half. But second in the 350 to 4 par 4s, so very, very strong there. Decent on the main length of par 3s. You're playing Robbie Shelton for the putter and the around the green to a lesser extent. So I figured I would mention him. I might throw him in a lineup or two. Not going crazy with it. The second of the 3 names is Grayson Sigg. And this is more of a gut feeling on my end because he didn't rate out nearly as well analytically. I mean, Shelton was, 24th? Shelton was 24th. Sigg's 37th, so didn't rate out nearly as well. This is more of a gut feeling on my end because the around the green is pretty mediocre. Par 5s aren't great. Bent Poa annua is not spectacular. Grayson Sigg you're playing for the fact that he keeps it in front of him. He's generally not out of position on too many holes. And the par 3s are the toughest holes at Silverado, and he plays these length of par 3s very well. It's not a whole lot to go on, But 1%, if you're looking to maybe sneak a 6K play in there, I figured I'd mention him. But as you all can probably guess from the reveal of the rankings, the mad scientist play this week is Chez Reavie. Third in the rankings. I don't know if I'd put him third, but I would be comfortable seeing anything in the bottom half of the top 10 in terms of rankings for him. Solid here at Silverado. I mean, just he's played all 5 years. He's averaged a 40th place finish average. So, I mean, he's got a couple of top 25s. I think he actually might have a top 15. I think he's 4 for 5 in making the cut. Gives himself lots of opportunities, plenty of opportunities. So you're hoping that the putter warms up a little bit. Talking about Grayson Sigg keeping it in front of him. You know, Chez Reavie is the definition of that. Second in good drives gained, so hitting fairways, hitting greens. First on these long par threes. So if you're going to dabble into the 6Ks, my suggestion to you is to use Chez Reavie. All right, we've been going for a little while. We still need to make some lineups. So we'll start making some lineups. We're going to start with tiers contests for those who play tiers contests. Tier 1, Sahith Theegala, Wyndham Clark, Max Homa. If ownerships are indeed like the class, or these projected classic lineup ownerships, then I really think Max Homa is probably worth it considering how unique he is. I will take Wyndham Clark, but if the ownerships are anything similar, like if Wyndham Clark is close to 45 to 50% in a tiers contest and Homa is more 20%, go with Homa if you think his ownership will be that much lower. Again, I'll take Clark. I am really thinking about taking Homa. And if I played multiple tiers contests, I would, kind of alternate Clark and Homa there. But I'll take Clark in Tier 1. Tier 2, Connors, Clanton, McNeely, Minwoo Lee, and Brennan Todd. Brennan Todd's worth some consideration, but I'm going to go with McNeely. I think he has a really good chance to win this thing. His odds were a little bit too low for my liking, so he's not on the betting card. But he was one of the first players I looked at in terms of an outright. I really like Mav McNeely this week. For a tiers contest, this is starting off pretty chalky, which is another reason why I don't mind Homa in Tier 1. But we're going to have to find some uniqueness if we're going to indeed go Wyndham Clark and McNeely to start. Tier 3, Keith Mitchell, J.J. Spawn, Tom Hoagie, Harris English, and Patrick Rogers. I don't care what the ownerships are. I don't like really any of these other players in this tier other than Spawn. This is just a one-man tier for me. No other considerations in my eyes. J.J. Spawn in Tier 3. Tier 4, Eric Cole, Doug Gim, Svensson, Bo Hostler, Chane Kim, Mac Hughes, and Matt Kuchar. So for as much as I didn't like Tier 3, I love Tier 4. I really like Eric Cole. Svensson's my number 1 player. I think Chane Kim could be fairly sneaky. Matt Kuchar. This is a great course fit for Matt Kuchar. But give me Adam Svensson. He's the number 1 player in my rankings. We're going to see him on social media later, in my betting card, in my most used players. I'm all over Adam Svensson. So give me Svensson in Tier 4. Tier 5, Mac Meisner, Cage Lee, Johnny Vegas, Sam Stevens, C.T. Pan, Rico Hoey, Matty Schmidt. Ugh. As much as I love Tier 4, I hate Tier 5. Ugh. I guess give me Mac Meisner. Because I don't like this course fit for Johnny Vegas. You see, he's just generally not played well here. So give me Mac Meisner kind of by default. I'm not in love with really any of these players. And then finally, Tier 6. We have Ben James, Zach Blair, Nate Lashley, Chesson Hadley, Chad Ramey, Joseph Bramlett, Trace Crow. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just like J.J. Spawn in his tier, give me Zach Blair in this tier. This tier's construction goes Wyndham Clark, although really think about Max Homa, especially if you think he's going to be very unique in a tiers contest. Really think about Max Homa. But I'll go Wyndham Clark Tier 1, Tier 2 McNeely, Tier 3 J.J. Spawn, Tier 4 Adam Svensson, Tier 5 Mac Meisner, Tier 6 is Zach Blair. All right, let's move to classic lineups and these big GPPs and how we can try to win lots of money this week. So we'll start with a couple of chalky lineups, what we think the our fellow contestants are on average doing. So it looks like they're starting with Wyndham Clark, which is a shame because I like Wyndham Clark, but he is the most projected owned player in the 10Ks. And then they're coming with Luke Clanton, which to me, I'm okay with. I'm going to full fade Luke Clanton just based on the fact that he has not shown a lot of capability with the around the green. This could very well be Corey Connors. It could be Matt McNeely. But I'm just trying to highlight or emphasize the ownership here with this lineup. So Wyndham Clark, Luke Clanton. There's not a lot in the 6Ks that's being looked at. You've got, let's see, 8.5% Trace Crow. And that's really about it. Everyone else down here seems to be, roughly 5%, maybe Ryan Moore at 6% or less. So if you think the 6Ks are happening, or if our fellow contestants are building lineups or going into the 6Ks, it would be Trace Crow. Otherwise, they're going to be bottoming out at Ben Silverman here at 11%. Doesn't give them a whole lot of wiggle room. They're probably not able to go into the 8s, or if they do, it's in the very low 8s, like a Chan Kim or maybe a Mac Meisner. Let's see what Chan Kim leaves them. 7,400. They should be able to do this. So Jacob Bridgman, maybe not, actually. Maybe not. Let's see. Let's go with Kuchar, Jacob Bridgman, and 77. CT Pan, Rico Hoey's getting some play, at least per Fantasy National. So this is 95% projected ownership, pretty high. We try to target, I guess, generally around 60 to 80. But this is going to be a pretty common lineup, if not, or pretty common shell of a lineup, if not the exact same players. Mostly Wyndham Clark. The second player here is probably interchangeable between Connors, Clanton, McNeely, and then coming down to Kuchar. If our fellow contestants are spreading that out a little bit, maybe they're coming off of Clanton, Brennan Todd. He's not getting as much love, but still getting enough. So Clark, Todd. Then they'll come into the 8Ks for an Eric Cole. Again, this would be Jacob Bridgman, and then maybe a Zach Blair, who's at like 8.5%. This is a little bit lower just because we're coming off the 22% Clanton to 14% Todd, going from Hoey to Zach Blair. But you get the idea. We're going to be able to fit a 10K player and not have to go into the 6Ks. So be mindful of that as we're moving forward the rest of this evening, and as you finalize your lineups. You don't have to go into the 6Ks to get your 5-digit play in there. If our fellow contestants are going more balanced, it doesn't feel like they are. I'll start it with McNeely, which is a shame because that's kind of where I'm at. But they would go McNeely, maybe Spawn or Todd. Actually, you know what? Let's go Clanton, McNeely. See how that looks. This would be Eric Cole. I'm just trying to highlight different players here. Maybe a Chan Kim, a Matt Kuchar. Yeah, this is more like it. 76. No one really in the 76. So just understand this is going to be 100 over, but I'm just trying to show you what a balanced lineup would look like. Oh, I'm right on it, actually. Nice. 98% projected ownership. That's a lot. So this is probably what a more balanced lineup is going to look like if our fellow contestants aren't going into the 10Ks. But my guess would be 80% of lineups are probably going to have Sahith or Wyndham in it, maybe even more. So how are we going to maneuver around all this chalk? Well, the first way we can do that is we can build the style of lineup that nobody else is building. And while I think it has some use, I don't like that lineup very much this week. What you would be doing would be going 2 10Ks and a 6K. So it would utilize the Mad Scientist play of Ches Reavie. And from here, again, I like Wyndham Clark the most in the 10Ks, and I'm going to stand on this hill for this week. Ignore Max Homa at your own risk at Silverado. So those are the 2 players I would use in this lineup in the 10Ks. But mix and match how you want. You go Sahith and Max Homa, Sahith and Clark. Sahith and Clark would be pretty difficult. It would not leave you very much wiggle room for the rest of your lineup. But you're wanting to do this as kind of a pure pivot on lineup construction versus what seems to be the most prevalent lineup style this week. And you can easily fit whatever else you're wanting into this. You can't use the 9Ks. You might be able to go into the 8s, but I don't know if you really can. But there are plenty of options here in the low 7s to make this work. You know, I mentioned Zach Blair, who I'm going to use in the quote main lineup. Silverman's a little bit more chalky, but you know, still at 11%. Somebody I didn't talk about, it'd be taking a big risk, but Taylor Montgomery. I mean, he's played very well here in the past. You want to talk about short game? Number 1 putter on Benton Poa-annua, also plays these links, the par 4s the best. Taylor Montgomery is worth consideration. I don't know if he's going to make the cut for you, but he's at least worth a look, especially if you're trying to get some uniqueness and fill out, you know, this style of lineup. Now you have 7,800. You could go Svensson. You can go Mac Meisner if you're there. Didn't really talk about Bo Hostler. It's okay. Matt Kuchar's pretty popular, but for decent reason. You know, everyone knows how I feel about Svensson this week. So this would be like Svensson, 7,300 again. You get Ben Silverman. I know it's a little bit out of order there, but you know, here's a lineup that's less than 70% cumulative ownership. You have 2 of the tournament favorites, arguably the tournament favorite, and arguably one who's had the most success here in the past. Svensson, who I'm just very high on. Montgomery's a bit of a risk. I really like Ches Reavie this week, so this is a lineup that I wouldn't mind throwing in once or twice. But the lineups that I'm doing the most, I'm just using the balanced lineup shell, and I'm finding my uniqueness out of it. I am mostly going with Mav to start, and I'm using JJ Spawn even. I mean, we're starting off 2 very, very chalky plays, and I don't care. I'm just very confident in these players. I think they're going to play extremely well, and I'm still confident enough that I'm going to be able to find uniqueness elsewhere. I can even throw Eric Cole into this. Now we're getting a whole lot of ownership here. Still not worried. I'm still not worried because Adam Svensson's pretty darn unique. Mark Hubbard is very unique, much more unique than I thought he would be. And Zach Blair ends it. Right at 50,000, a little bit on the high side. We look for 60 to 80. This is closer to 90. But I do think this is a fairly unique lineup since I'm not using either of the top 10K dogs, who are going to be, like I said, in probably 80 to 90% of lineups. Starting with McNeely, ignoring Connors, ignoring Clanton, coming down to Svensson, using Zach Blair, who's at 8.5%, Hubbard, who's at 8%. So this is the kind of lineup that I've been using or doing most often. Of course, I'll mix and match in here. Spawn might become Brendan Todd, and I'll back off of Hubbard and go, maybe Justin Lauer or Jacob Bridgman. Might use Nate Lashley a time or two at 7,000 instead of Zach Blair. But generally speaking, these are the style of lineups that I'm building most this week. These balanced lineups, bottoming out at Zach Blair, using as much Adams Vincent as I can. I don't mind Eric Cole despite all of his ownership. I think he's going to play well. This is the style of lineup that I'm using the most this week. All right, that's what I have for you all. I'll stick around for a minute or two if there are any questions. No one and done. That ended with the Tour Championship, which I had a very successful first year in, so looking forward to getting that started up again. To answer my own question, obviously I'm doing a show here, so I pay attention quite a bit to the fall portion of the PGA Tour schedule, but seems like there's a wide spectrum here. One answer each in each of the answers for how much do you pay attention to the fall portion of the schedule. I know NFL generally dominates this portion of the year, but the more you pay attention in the FedEx Fall, the more you're just going to have a leg up on our fellow contestants come, Century and Sony. So that's why I generally really like these fall events. I really dig in deep to try to get a leg up on the start of 2025. So for me, it's a lot. I want to thank Barbarian, Phil, and P for jumping in chat. It's much appreciated. Thanks to everyone else out there who tunes in, watches, listens, supports the channel by liking the videos, commenting, and subscribing. I love what I do. Taking a very in-depth look at golf statistics, giving you a statistician's view of what he sees, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. Some weeks are much better than others. My FedEx Cup playoffs were a disaster. No way around that. So I'm going to try to pick myself up off the ground. Glad you took something from it, Phil. It was good to see you this evening. And a reminder that I'm going to be over in Gabe's Substack chat right after the show this evening. We're going to continue the DFS talk over there. Talk about our favorite areas of the price board, some players that maybe we're fading and scared to, or players that we're pretty high on. So if you're not subscribed to his article, I really suggest you go do that. It is free to subscribe to his article. His social media handle is in the description. Go show him some support. Follow him over on that. Gabe Ziskins. We've been working together for a couple years now. His social media handle is in the chat, or in the description, excuse me. His social media handle is in the description. We're going to be going over to his chat here momentarily. So we'll be on the lookout for that. But again, thanks for all the support. Really appreciate it. Keep me informed this week, whether it's in the comments of the show or find me over on social media and let me know how your lineups are doing. Did you go all in with Adams Vincent like I am? Did you play Corey Connors that I didn't, or that I'm not going to? Who were some of your bold suggestions? So would love to hear from you all throughout the week. So for all the wagers you have made this week for the Procore Championship, for all of the DFS contests you play this week for the Procore Championship, for this weekend and every weekend, may all your bets be profitable.